So in today's scenario, I want you to imagine that we're working at Flipkart and we're noticing that there's a decline of about 15% of cart additions to the shopping cart in the last 3 days. Can you help us diagnose the issue? Hey everyone, we're here today to do another product management mock interview. We're going to be focusing on a root cause analysis type question, which are similar to execution questions where you have to figure out what's going wrong with a particular issue. I'm joined here today by Khanjan. Khanjan, go ahead and introduce yourself for folks watching.
Hi everyone, I'm Khanjan. I am currently a product manager at Razorpay, which is a fintech company in India. And prior to this, I completed my postgraduate program from the Indian School of Business. And before that, I was working for a couple of months at Bain& Company and Idea Cellular, which is one of the leading telecoms of India. So that's about me. And I'm super excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you too. And so, Khanjan, as mentioned, we're going to be going through a root cause analysis question. And so I have a certain scenario that I'll propose to you, and then we're going to talk about how to actually go through that issue. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, so in today's scenario, I want you to imagine that we're working at Flipkart, and we're noticing that there's a decline of about 15% of cart additions to the shopping cart in the last 3 days. Can you help us diagnose the issue?
Sure. So, Stephen, before I jump into sort of finding out what the problem is, just want to understand what do we define as cart additions here so that we are on the same page.
Got it. So cart additions are, let's imagine a user that's on the Flipkart experience, the Flipkart app. They add an item to their cart. So they may click and an item appears in their shopping cart.
Sure. Also, Flipkart has both website and mobile app. So, are we looking at a generic 15% decline, or has it been observed only on the mobile app or the website?
We're noticing it mostly on the mobile app experience.
Okay, sure. So, I will just take 2 minutes to sort of make my framework and think about Flipkart in general, and will then share the framework with you.
Awesome. Take your time.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm ready. So, Stephen, our first question is the cart additions that we are measuring. So, it's sort of like a metric which might be measured using some analytics tool. So, have we checked whether this analytics tool was working well over the last 3 days?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we talked to the analytics team. We want to make sure that this data is correct or right. And it does seem like the data coming through is good. Like there's no issues with logging or analytics that have happened in the last few days.
Okay, so now that we have all of that answered, I will just share briefly my outline of the framework that I'm going to follow to arrive at the root cause. So first, I will look at the external factors, which will involve getting information on what competitors have done in the last 3 days. Has there been any product launch, or has there been any new announcement which might have taken away certain customer base or certain product, which might have taken away certain customer base from Flipkart. Second, we'll look at the demographic feature. So, has it affected any particular customer segment or any particular demographic feature of that particular customer segment? Third, we look at the macroeconomic changes. So, has there been any news or any seasonality impact or any kind of pattern in the external factors which might impact the overall purchasing behavior? Fourth would be what are the internal changes that we have done. So have we made any updates in the mobile app? Have we made any design changes, etc.? Then will be the overall journey of the user on the mobile app, because we are closing it down on the mobile app. So we'll see all the steps of the user journey, and we'll see if any particular point before the cart additions has experienced any glitch or bugs. So we'll basically look at any incidents that have come up. And if none of this is the reason, then we might look at uh, certain factors which are out of control, but which still might impact the overall purchasing behavior. So does that look good to you?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for laying it all out.
Sure. So as I mentioned, so the first question is in India, especially Flipkart has a couple of e-commerce giants as competition. And so has there been any new announcement or entry of any competitor or any kind of a product launch or a big billion sale or sorry, big billion sale is for Flipkart. So any sale that has been announced?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we want to see if there's a competitor. We have limited knowledge here at Flipkart, so we don't fully know what the competitors are doing. From a cursory perspective or looking at social media profiles, things like that, we're not seeing anything in particular. But it's not entirely clear. There could be some detailed targeting or some customized campaigns that we're not visible to or not visible to us.
I see. Okay. Also, have we observed if this has impacted customers from a certain city or a region? So, is there any impact of location on this particular decline?
We're not seeing an impact of location on the decline. So when we look at the location, we're seeing a spread across many different places.
Okay, great. Also, has any particular segment been impacted? So, let's say females of age 20 to 30 who were earlier purchasing a lot of cosmetics have suddenly not started, suddenly stopped purchasing that, or is it again a uniform distribution?
Yeah, so we can look at some basic factors like gender, age, location, and we're not seeing a deviation for any of those sort of big demographic categories that we typically look at.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So now we will look at what Flipkart has been doing. So has Flipkart announced any campaign or any other, let's say, product or any other um, sort of a subsidiary which might have taken attention away from the mobile app?
We definitely launch campaigns all the time. It's not clear that any one of these campaigns would be taking users away from the mobile app or there'd be any detriment to the mobile app, but we do have campaigns running. Is there something specific that you're hoping to get with that or
Right.
understand?
So, how I would look at this is considering that we don't see any pattern in the demographics and the geography, we would first look at the products. If there is any pattern in the kind of products which have seen a decline in cart additions. And if we can identify that, if there is a pattern or if there is even a pattern among the categories, then we can look at the campaigns which were running for those particular categories and products and then we can sort of attribute the decline to that. So, do you have any information on that?
Right. So when we look at the campaign data and things like that, we're not. It doesn't seem like there's a correlation to a decline in the mobile app experience.
Sure. Okay. So then I'll move ahead with the technical parts of it. So just to summarize for everyone who's viewing this, when the customer will open Flipkart or launch the Flipkart app on their mobiles, if they have already signed in to the app, then they will directly see their homepage. So the first thing that they will see is the homepage versus if they are going to sign in for the first time, the first screen that they will see is a login screen versus if they are a new user, they would see a sign up screen. So this will be the first touch point for the customer. So the next thing that I would want to know is have there been any upgrades to the mobile app in the last 3 days on both iOS and Android?
Yes, there actually has been. We've done a major update in the last few days to the mobile apps.
Okay, and are these updates related to anything in the card addition uh, card addition milestone, or are they not at all related to that?
We made some changes that affect the whole shopping cart flow. So there definitely is a relationship between the changes that we pushed and the experience that we might be serving to our users.
Okay, so like, can you be a little more specific, as in, have we made some design changes which would maybe increase the discovery of our products, or have we offered an easier checkout journey, uh, or have we enhanced the maybe, or have we changed the look and feel of the add to cart buttons?
Yeah, so we have improved the checkout flow to make it more seamless in an effort to improve the conversion rate on the checkout experience.
Right. Also, have we observed if this decline is only to iOS customers or only to Android customers?
We are seeing the decline only on Android customers.
Oh, okay. Right. And have we received any incidents or bugs report on the app changes that have been done? So, from any kind of customers, or I mean, we haven't received any reports, but we still think that the upgrade might have done something.
Yeah, we're not seeing so many more reports, especially since we launched the experience maybe a few days ago. But we are seeing an increase in some bug reports. And it seems like there's some bug reports that people are having issues paying or checking out their products.
Right. So now, to go a little more deeper into the issue, I feel that it is something to do with the process from right from seeing the product and finalizing the product to the checkout process. But because we are observing a decline in the cart additions, the first and the directly attributable feature to that would be the add to cart option. So, first point where the customer would see that button is on the product listing page. So it does not necessarily have to be specifically the page of that product, but it will be like a generic listing. So is the button visible there for all the products?
The button, so you're asking if the button is visible for all the products for the set of users. We can spin up a dev version and kind of take a look at it. And it does look like the button is visible to us. We're not totally sure if there are other versions where the button might not be visible, but as far as we can tell, it seems like the button is visible on the platforms that we're looking at.
Okay. And once the, again, so now it comes to the journey from seeing a list of products to selecting the particular product that the customer wants to add to cart, and then clicking on the button, and then that particular action or that particular click to action translating that particular product to show in the customer's cart. So, what we need to do is we need to observe if this particular flow is getting completed. So, have we logged in the event data, or have we observed the events data wherein the add to cart event is transitioning into the actual product being added in the cart? Do we have that information?
Yeah, so when we take a look at the data, we actually see that there's been no cart additions on Android in the past few days. So we're actually seeing a huge decline in cart additions on that specific version of Android that we've launched, version of the app on Android.
Right. So then, Stephen, I feel that because we are not noticing, or we don't have any attributable data to the installs of app as such. Also, the product discovery or the product visibility doesn't seem to be an issue as well. My bet would be on the add to cart button. So we should probably do a complete analysis on the event flow for every customer on the Android app to check how many customers are actually clicking on the add to cart button and not seeing, or not or their products are not being added to the cart. So that's where the issue seems to be lying.
Yeah, you totally got it. And I mean, we can go a little bit further into this and talk about where exactly the issue is or how we debug it. But I think you sort of nailed it on the head. Maybe if you could just summarize one last time for the viewers before we go to some feedback and things like that, of sort of your journey through this flow and how you came to the answer that you came to.
So how one should see any problem coming in any metric for a product or a particular product feature is that first we look at the external reasons. So more often than not, especially for e-commerce websites, a lot of external factors such as campaigns or competitions announcements or the company's own announcements, they lead to a shift in trend for the customers, and that may lead to a certain segment of customers not actually adding things to the cart or not actually looking at purchasing at that particular point in time. So considering that we were looking at a 3-day window, I had to sort of understand if, and it's a big window, so I had to understand if in those 3 days, any such announcement from the competition or any such new product launch from the competition was affecting the cart additions on Flipkart. Once that was out of the way, we look at which particular location or segment of customers have been impacted. If at all there is an identifiable pattern in that, then we can directly attribute that to the shift in maybe the purchasing power or the trends or the various factors that may be contributing to the way they come on Flipkart and add products to the cart. Once that is out of the way, we look at the residence of that particular problem on our ecosystem. So, is it on the website or on the mobile app, or we really don't have any data on that, which is a very unlikely scenario. We usually can attribute that very well from the data. So, here, because we observe that it is residing in the mobile app, and after a little more probing, we also found out that it is on the Android uh, Play Store itself. So the Android version is facing the problems. We surely know that it is not attributable to any change in the external factors, and it is rather something that is internal to Flipkart. So once we know that it is an internal problem, we start looking at the funnel and the conversion from each step in the funnel. So right from the installs to the signups to the product discovery to the visibility of the various buttons on the product listing page to the clickability of the particular buttons, and then we identify how many clicks have actually resulted in the action to get completed. So in this case, that was our best bet because before that we didn't find any problem. So that's how I arrived at the final answer that this might be the actual root cause of the cart additions declining by 15%.
Awesome. Well, Khanjan, that was awesome to see you go through that. I wrote a bunch of notes about what I thought you did really well. But before we jump into it, we'd love to hear a self-reflection. What do you think went well about that interview? What do you think didn't, or would you change if you could go back? And then I can jump into some feedback and we can just talk generally.
Yeah. First I'll talk about the areas of improvement that I feel I should have done better or I could have done better. The first one being when I asked you about the website and the mobile app issue. So where exactly the cart additions were observed, and you did tell me that it was in the mobile app. I should have asked you a bit more about where or which versions of mobile app or which Play Store was this particular issue happening on, or which particular device type this issue was happening on. That answer would have given me a much better visibility into the funnel. So I could have understood that because it's on Android and not Apple, I could have understood that it is something which is a bug issue and not exactly a customer side of an issue or an external issue. So that's one. And second is because it's a root cause analysis, it might have been the case that I should have probably asked for a little more data. So, in terms of the numbers, so in the real world, I would have probably just gone on my analytics board and I would have asked for a lot more data. So, that is another thing that I could have improved on. In terms of what I did good, I think the framework that I made, however, it might have not been uh, it might not have been required to look at so many factors, but if you develop a habit of looking at everything from a 360-degree view, then you don't tend to miss out on things and it becomes like a general way of solving things which as a PM I feel helps a lot in the longer run. So that is what I think I did good.
Totally. Yeah, Khanjan, definitely agree with you. I mean, overall, I thought this was a really smooth, excellent answer of a root cause analysis question. Um, they can get very scary and hairy because you don't know where to go with it, and it feels very intimidating. Like, oh, is this the right direction, or is that the right direction, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought you handled that very well. And what I really loved about your answer is in the beginning, you sort of started off with a full framework of, okay, these are the ways that I'm going to go about this problem. I'm going to think about it like through this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and kind of go through that. And I definitely did wish we came back to that in the middle, or if there was a whiteboard or something like that, it could be really helpful because then I could really see like, okay, hey, like this is where that issue was or something, and like therefore we've eliminated this hypothesis or something like that. I also I thought the going back to the hypothesis was really great. You did this a couple times where you summarized or you were like, okay, this is now where I think I am, or this is now what we're going to do. I thought that was especially great when you did that with the cart analysis. We're like, okay, now let's just really dive into the flow and look at the flow and see where the issue is in the flow. I thought that was really effective too. One thing that I wanted to call out that I hope you don't mind sharing, or that I share with the audience is there's a thing that a lot of interviewees do, and it's called up speaking. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's sort of when at the end of your sentence you go up, like answering it like a question, kind of at the end of things. And I think that was one piece of feedback I did notice is that you did that a couple times throughout the interview, and it took away from the confidence and the gravitas of what you were saying. It's a hard habit. Sometimes I do it too, actually, when I answer interview questions. But I just thought it'd be helpful to share to the audience as well that it's something just to watch for when you watch recordings of yourself doing interviews, or especially at Exponent, we always really recommend people record themselves and watch themselves because then you see all the flaws and the sort of tough things. But that's just one common behavior in interviews that always can make you sound a little bit more confident, a little bit more sort of like steady in your answer. Any reactions, thoughts, comments to any of the feedback I just shared?
No, I think, yeah, very fair point. So I'd like to add on that the way a lot of your PM interview also depends on the confidence and the smoothness with which you approach the question, because it tends to get very intimidating in the real world scenario. For example, I remember when I was interviewing for the companies last year, in 30 minutes, we were expected to solve at least two cases. And if you don't have a control on how you are speaking and what you are speaking and not writing it at the same time and showing it to the interviewer might just lose track of what you're doing, and that can cost you a lot. So a very fair point.
Totally. Yeah, and actually, I mean, to sort of close or wrap toward the end of this conversation, if folks want to learn more, you can always check out Exponent at tryexponent.com. We help people land their dream tech job with our courses, our coaching, and our vibrant community. We believe that people shouldn't interview alone. The reason I bring this up now is that part of Exponent's mission is to help people practice better. And there have been studies to show that practicing for interviews, just getting those reps in, can go a long way towards building that confidence and getting that type of interview that you want to see in the interview to succeed. So I did want to just mention that about Exponent. But before we close, Khanjan, do you have any last thoughts, tips, anything else you wanted to share with folks watching?
Yeah, so firstly, I would like to top your closing comment that I have, in fact, prepared a lot of my product cases watching Exponent mock interviews. So definitely, that's one tip that I can give, that any mock interviews will help you get a sense of what kind of questions can come up and how should you hold the conversation during a product management interview. Again, continuing on that point, what happens is that a lot of people feel that because it's a product case, in order to show that you know everything and that you're an expert, people don't make conversation, and they forget to ask questions, or they forget to course correct themselves during the process, and hence they get so lost in their own points that it just leads to a very jumbled up solution. So yeah, that would be my final comment. And lastly, for any help on product cases, one should always refer to, or one should always fall back on actual practice. So you will have your peers or your family members or your cousins, friends, whoever you can find. Just speaking to them and just telling them to be your interviewer will give you a lot of confidence, which will help you in the actual scenario.
Awesome. And if you're looking to learn more about Khanjan, we'll put a link to her YouTube channel in the description below. We really appreciate Khanjan taking the time. And for those of you watching, if you have any comments or questions, now is the time. We'll try to answer every single one of them. Just comment below in the video and hit that like and subscribe button as well if you thought this video was valuable. Again, thank you so much for joining and good luck on your upcoming interview.